Welcome back into Ash Talk, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Jake alongside Hayden, and we have another loaded podcast for you today. We're going to be getting into the pigskin prognosis, last one of the year. We're going to have our take it to the banks. We're also going to be going over the NFL season as it's coming to a close coming up this weekend, and a lot of other stuff that's going on. And Hayden, what are you smoking
I'm smoking
today?
a My Father La Valencia.
Okay.
Um, you can never go wrong with the My Father La
No.
Valencia. I always say it wrong.
Hashabanana.
Hashabidi-hapta, shibbidi-boo-boo. La Valencia.
Okay.
Anything in the My Father
Yep.
world, you're normally going to be pretty stoked about.
Yep.
They're kind of that mid-range, mid to high range
Sure.
cigar. Uh, for me, it's a must pick up. It's definitely a stick you wanna kinda have in your humidor and all of those kinds of things. I've had 2 or 3 of these specific ones, and I really enjoy it. We got to do a little trade before the show,
Mhm.
and so, I'm
Yeah.
actually, like, stoked about it because I feel like I got the benefit of the doubt.
Well, that was the thing is that I had smoked that a couple weeks ago and reviewed it, and I was like, "You know what? This is my last cigar in my humidor." I just went on Holtz.com, picked up a bunch of cigars. They're not gonna be in until Monday. So I was like, "You know what? How about we trade?" So naturally, I'm smoking a Gurkha. Let's I'm smoking a Gurkha Rogue,
There we go.
which, you said was just okay, not that
Yeah.
nothing to write home about. So we made the trade just to, give the listeners some different points of view,
Yeah.
mainly because, uh, we want you to hear that, and the other reason is because I'm out of cigars.
It's the way it goes. We appreciate all those who donate cigars to us.
Yeah,
Man, it's,
I'm running low, so
I'm running low too. I'd love
hello,
to
man.
go ahead
Oh,
and fill up that humidor. So if you're a listener out there and you're just looking to spend some money you got for Christmas,
sure.
send us a cigar or two. We'd love to try that out. And
We'll review it on the show.
we will review it. We'll give you a shout out, get you
Yep.
some followers.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, and make sure you guys like and subscribe. Follow us on Instagram. Just as we continue to build this program. Again, Ash Talk. If you're just joining us the first time you're listening, it's a cigar podcast where we just sit around and talk some sports in the upcoming weekend. And like I said, we're gonna have pigskin prognosis or take it to the banks, and we're also gonna cover in depth the Vikings and the Lions coming up this weekend.
I am okay. I'll wait. I am stoked about this game.
I think everybody is. I wouldn't be surprised if this hits, 30, 40 million people
Oh man,
tuning in. I think it's going to be a huge game.
for sure.
But first, we usually, because we're either going into the weekend or coming out of the weekend when we do a podcast, big news just with overall in the college football playoff. We now are down to 4 teams.
14.
As we're recording this, Notre Dame just beat Georgia
Yep.
to advance
Yep.
to the Orange Bowl.
Yep.
Yep, and they will advance and take on Penn State in the Orange Bowl.
Yep.
And the Cotton Bowl is going to be played against Ohio State against Texas. And so now we're down to 4. Hayden, initial thoughts over this past holiday, this past New Year. We want to wish everybody a happy New Year, by the way, too. Great day of football. A lot of really good games. I mean, couple not so great games, but I
Yeah.
mean, just overall, what's your take over the weekend?
I think the biggest takeaway for me was, well, 2. First and foremost, anyone who watched the Arizona State Texas game, what a game. Beginning to end, looked like Texas early was going to kind of take off on this team, and
Yeah,
most people thought Arizona State was going to get smacked. It was like a
I did.
16
I
point
did. Yeah,
spread.
I thought Texas would beat them by like 2 or 3 touchdowns. I said that earlier this week, and that did not happen. And it looked like it was going to happen,
Right.
but a guy by the name of Cam Skedevo just
Put
took
the
over.
team on his back
Yeah,
and went after it. I mean, and it's so funny because he was exhausted. I mean, the guy could go into like 2 plays at a time. The announcers were saying that he hasn't even played 4 quarters of football this year.
yeah.
They've been beating teams so bad that he's normally done by the 3rd quarter.
Mm-hmm.
So he hasn't had to carry the ball 50 times like he did against Texas.
Sure.
And so, um, but man, there was fight in him. There was grit.
That's a through and through football player. When you
100%.
you go to the dictionary and look up football player, there's Cam Scatterbo.
He just got so many fans moving forward. I know my dad and I were watching the game, and he said, "I just found my new favorite player. It's
Mhm.
that guy right there. That dude's old school, smash mouth. I'm gonna punch you in the mouth football player."
Yep.
One of the last I feel like that's out there
Yeah.
with that kind of grit and
Well,
attitude.
and he won the most valuable player in the Peach Bowl,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
that had never happened for a losing team before. Going further and deeper into that game, did you see the non-targeting call
Oh
with
man.
Arizona? And I think, I mean, just if you didn't see it, Arizona was driving down to kick the field goal to win the game, and it was a big third down, and there was helmet to helmet contact between an Arizona State wide receiver and one of the Texas defenders, and it looked just like textbook targeting,
Yep.
and the officials reviewed it and said, "Nope, it's not targeting." From me, my standpoint, I think that's 100% targeting.
Oh yeah.
You could see Dillingham or whatever, the head coach for Arizona State, just basically tell the refs that's horrible. Yes, just bad.
100%.
I would have, if it was my team, I would have probably lost all composure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you had a chance to kind of finish Texas off,
Yep.
and again, Arizona State had multiple chances,
They did.
in overtime too. But uh, just a horrible job by the officials. It felt like, to me, after watching it and then reviewing it and then saying there is no targeting, felt like a little bit of a Texas home cooking, keep the Longhorns in, uh, they're the bigger university, so we're gonna look away on this. I mean,
Unfortunately, that's what it was, and
yeah,
and that wasn't
it's what
the
it
only
felt
one.
like.
There was a couple of hits. I feel like in the playoffs, at the very least, I've seen a lot, from my opinion, look like straight up targeting, helmet to helmet,
Yeah.
leading with the crown, and them getting reversed or completely just omitted and
Yeah.
not even talked about. And I don't know what's going on. If you watch the Michigan Bama game, Jordan Marshall, their freshman running back from Michigan, dominated the game, but
Mhm.
every time he got hit, man, he got smoked.
Yeah.
And so many of them were just straight head on, helmet to helmet, and there was nothing called. And I'm like, dude, this is out of control.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at the replay, I I tend to not wanna call that if it's like, um if they bumped heads, but it was
Right,
overall like a body,
right.
it
You
was
threw your body
literally it
into
it was literally crown of the helmet.
Yep.
He
Textbook.
didn't duck much, but he ducked enough where
Yep.
it was, and I don't think he was, like, straight leading with the helmet, but, like, dude, you went straight helmet to helmet contact on a defenseless receiver.
Yep.
To pick that up and not call that targeting is a horrible call. Feel bad for Cam, feel bad for Arizona State. Um,
The reality of it is I think Arizona State played out of their mind. Uh,
they did.
I
And it
think
and it looked like the fans, just from a fan perspective, when they were showing different shots of the fans during that game, Arizona State looked just jacked out of their mind.
oh, man.
And Texas was just like, "Okay, here we go again, waiting for the other shoe to drop."
Right.
Um,
And
so
it's
we'll see.
awful tough to go into overtime. I said if they go into overtime with Texas, it's probably over.
Yeah.
Uh, Too much depth.
They forced them to a 4th down. They took the lead in that game, forced them to a 4th down, and then Evers hit Golden, though, right over the middle for a
Wide o
touchdown, wide open on a 4th and 10. You can't let that happen if you're the
Absolutely
defense.
not.
So Arizona State, it's not like that was their only chance,
Right.
but their best chance, I felt, to win that game was to get that targeting call, get them within field goal range, and give them at least a chance. Um, and so, yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll get into the other 3 games as well, but I want to get your quick take on Michigan Bama, because a couple weeks ago I went on an absolute rant about how Bama shouldn't be in. I'm so happy Michigan won, just to quiet the Alabama fans that, no, you weren't good enough. Yes, some of these games are terrible, but the SEC isn't performing very well in the college football playoff. They're not performing well in their bowl games, really. And I mean, now that you're down to 4 teams, you have one non-conference and you have 2 Big 10 schools in
Yep.
in Ohio State and Penn State. So it's kind of like you have one SEC team in the Final Four, and that's Texas, and they were, kind of the cream of the crop, other than losing to Georgia.
Yep.
Uh, all season. And
Yeah.
so for me, I was a big Wolverine fan when they beat Bama, just to say, okay, just because Bama's not in, that's not the reason why these college football playoff games have been a lot of them have been blowouts. I think it's just the way it's set up, and there's some schools that are just head and shoulders above everybody, and this isn't the NFL. Where there's a salary cap and they're paid professionals and the margin of error is very small. This
Yeah.
is college,
Yep.
okay? These are kids, high pressure situations. It's totally different. And um just your quick thoughts on Michigan Bama, because I was very stoked that Michigan pulled that out just to quiet the Bama fans so they couldn't sit there and say we should have been in.
Yeah, well, I'll say this, I don't like to wave the Bama flag, because 'cause I'm like a lot of
It
the
feels good to
country.
beat them though.
It feels great to beat them. They're still a for real team. Uh, Michigan's
But
defense
they weren't
showed up.
they weren't a college playoff team. They weren't a playoff team this year. You got to admit, they were not a playoff team. They weren't good enough to be a playoff team. You can disagree with me, but I'll stand on that hill. They just weren't good enough. But Michigan's got something to build off of, because beating Bama like that, going to, finishing the season now, what, 8 and
8
5
and 5.
after that just horrible,
With several starters out.
yeah,
Alabama played everybody,
yeah.
maybe one.
And Milrow looked lost. I mean, that defense
Total loss.
is getting there.
Wink Martindale
Yeah,
has found his sweet spot. I think the fan base is excited, and now if we can just have a quarterback that can throw the ball,
right.
we're in the playoffs.
Yep. You
Uh,
need another you need another McCarthy. You
Yeah.
need another guy that can get those 3rd and 8s
Yep.
and at least have the threat of the pass.
Yep.
And I think Michigan will be in the hunt, and that's the big goal. That to me for Michigan is, can we find the quarterback that's going to be able to at least pose the threat that yes, we can potentially pass on.
Well, we just brought the number 1 quarterback in the nation.
That's true. Did he
So
commit? Is he there?
Oh, yeah, he's
Okay.
there, baby. Bryce Underwood. Shout out to Bryce. We're excited. Welcome home, buddy. It's time to put up. Time to put on, man. So we're excited about the Bryce Underwood era. I mean, the guy is a phenom out of high school. I'm still one of those guys, you haven't played it down in college football, and we gas up high school players, and hey, man, I hope he lives up to the hype.
Right.
But playing high school players and playing Division One, walking into Columbus and playing that D line, we'll find out.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, we'll find out in spring practice. Maybe you don't
Amazing how many 4 and 5-star recruits don't pan out.
stars don't mean nothing, man.
Well, no, and they don't. It doesn't get the recognition of when they fan out, because there was. I mean, other than the school that they're committing to, there's not a lot of hype around them, right?
Right.
So,
For sure.
it doesn't get a lot of national media attention. So we'll see. I think Michigan is a couple players away
Yep.
from being very dangerous next season.
Oh, yeah.
Potential playoff team, in my opinion. Just
Oh,
the
for
way
sure.
when you finish strong like that, still play through.
Going into the offseason with an incredible portal
Yep.
experience this year, and still adding, and a great recruiting class, top 10, top 3 portal right now, and it's still not done. So I'm excited about Michigan. They have a pretty decent, easy schedule next year, not playing Oregon, not playing Penn State, not playing Wisconsin, not playing any of like your juggernauts, Iowa. You're playing some pretty
It's a little bit more of an easy Big Ten
yeah.
schedule.
Yeah, so I'm excited about that.
Yeah. Um, the reason I brought up the Michigan Bama game too, and we'll move on because I know there's bigger things later on in the show, but and to plant my flag that Bama didn't deserve to get in, just proved my point, and I smiled the whole way. You actually have an interesting bourbon
I do.
that you brought to the show that we're actually trying. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, one of our fans sent us a brand new Woodson bourbon whiskey. Charles Woodson is probably my all-time favorite Michigan player. I'm sure a lot of fans out there probably are feel the same way.
Yeah, I mean he's very popular.
I love him on Fox. I just love Charles Woodson. I love that he is like sold out to the Michigan family. And so, I watch his podcast, and he's got this new bourbon out, and some friends sent this out our way and wanted us to give it a shot. And so this is a limited edition commemorative bottle. This is the Woodson bourbon whiskey. Never had it. So I figured let's try it on the show and kind of give 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 a quick review.
Yeah, I've already had a couple sips.
What are your thoughts?
Very very interesting. It's not particularly smooth, but I'm kind of okay with that. Which is kind of weird. It almost has like a very high intensity alcohol flavor of
Yeah.
this whiskey, but
Yep.
like just like overall alcohol flavor in the beginning, smooths out, really nice burn. Like
Yeah.
sometimes like you get that burn, you don't if you don't like whiskey being having that little bit of burn and you just want it straight smooth, it's
Mhm.
probably not for you. I
Yeah.
think it's a very interesting whiskey. Like it's almost kind of in three parts where it's got that heavy alcohol in the beginning. You get the wood and the bourbon in the
Yep.
middle,
Yep.
and then it finishes smooth with a little bit of burn.
Yeah.
Quite a journey, I guess.
Yeah.
Trying it. I mean, I would give it
How
4
many
out of
bottle caps?
4 4 out of 5 bottle caps.
Okay.
4 out of 5 bottle caps.
Yeah, I'm gonna
I'm
be
not a
honest.
Michigan fan. If you're a Michigan fan, you're probably giving it 5, but
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm gonna be honest, I'm not a huge bourbon drinker.
mhm.
I appreciate a bourbon every now and then. But I'll tell you, yeah, this is a unique bourbon. It's not like a bourbon that I've tried before. And so it definitely had that front end alcohol taste, but it did, in my mind, smooth out a little bit on the back end.
Mhm.
I don't have that lasting burn. I mean,
Yeah.
it's there in the beginning. But at the end of the day, I'm not one of those guys because I taste a note of I don't know. I don't know what I taste,
I would say
but I'd
this,
say
if
it's
you're
pretty
not a
smooth.
bourbon person,
It's probably a safe drink.
yeah, I would say it's safe, but if
Yeah,
you're not a bourbon person and you like it, you're probably gonna end up really liking other bourbons.
for sure.
If you're already a pretty big bourbon drinker, I can see where this fits in your lineup.
Yeah,
It might not be, like, for you every single time, but if
yeah.
you're not a bourbon drinker and you like this is a good indicator whether you're gonna,
Continue on
continue on
culture.
wanting the bourbon. It hits hard. It
Yeah,
hits hard in the beginning, almost like 21 himself.
yeah.
And so, congrats to Charles.
Thank you, Charles. This is his
Love your
first
work.
brand, first line, so I'm sure it's only gonna get better. But yeah, I think it's especially if you're a Michigan fan, it's a must-have. It's a must-have. But honestly, I think
Nice
it's good.
collector bottle.
Yeah, I think it's good. I
Yeah.
think it's good. I
I'm
wish
sure
I was a connoisseur and I could be able to articulate it a little bit more, but I'm not.
it just
So,
tastes like bourbon,
it
just
tastes like
with
bourbon, but it tastes different than like a Maker's. It tastes a little bit different than
it does.
the
It
typical
like
bourbon.
I said, it's got, like, almost 3 phases in it,
Yeah,
and
takes you on this
that's
journey.
just my initial. Again, I'm not a bourbon connoisseur either. I mean, um, are there smoother bourbons out there? Yes, but are there other bourbons that are gonna give you kinda that punch? Not a lot.
No.
And so if you like that, I think
Yep.
you're gonna like this.
Yeah.
Um,
I give it
so
4 out of
very
5
cool.
though from a bourbon perspective,
Yeah,
based on all the bourbons that I've had.
yeah.
I would give it a 4 out of 5.
I would say if you're a bourbon fan, pick it up. If you're a
Yeah,
Michigan fan,
it's a
it's a
must.
must-have.
Yeah.
Um, moving on to the other college football games, you had, obviously Arizona State and Texas, we talked about that. Rose Bowl, Ohio State comes in and just goes into Pasadena and just wallops Oregon.
Yep.
Puts up 40 plus points on them. For me, I mean, I thought looking at this game, the winner of this game is going to win the Natty, going to win the national championship. And so, I mean, of the 4 teams, I think Ohio State's the best one.
It's not even close.
Yeah, anything can happen, turnovers can happen, but
Yeah.
I see the Buckeyes.
They're gonna
If
walk
if I had
Penn State like they already did,
well,
and they're gonna
that's
walk
if
well,
they
if
need it.
Penn State goes, they're gonna
Yeah,
walk through Texas. Texas doesn't look good.
I don't know if they'll walk,
Oh, they're gonna
but
walk right through.
Texas's defense, what they did was not good. But I will say that smash mouth. I mean, Cam just does Ohio State have the physicality
Yes.
to just beat you down
Yeah.
like Cam did? Because if they
100
do, then that's a problem. Because then you combo that in with the speed that they have on the
speed.
outside, you might see another 45-20
Yeah.
jubbing against Texas.
Yeah, you're not playing Arizona State. You're playing the best receivers in the country, a quarterback who can get him the ball, and an O-line that is now tracking and finally doing what it needs to do.
I think Texas fans came to the realization when they started giving up that first half lead in the second half that they're not ready for a national championship.
Yeah.
I think that was a lot of the fans looked on their faces like we're letting Arizona State back into this game,
Yep.
and the look on their face was we're not as good as we think we are.
Yep.
Um, and yeah, I still wouldn't take Texas lightly. I think they're like 5.5 points coming out. Obviously, the spreads are just coming out, but
In their favor?
no, Ohio State's favored by
Yeah.
5.5.
Yeah.
So I mean, I would honestly still take Ohio State to cover, because I think they can just put up that kind of points, but their defense just stifled Oregon all day. I mean, they were getting off blocks, they were flying to the ball. Oregon really struggled. A lot of batted down passes. Gabriel just really struggled to like see the field, and it was almost like they had to ad lib just to get their
Well, he got
offense
sacked
moving.
8 times.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah. I mean, it was just
yeah,
he was
the way
right
they were able to
flag.
get off blocks and stuff like that. I mean,
Yep.
you're seeing it with Penn State, you're seeing it with Notre Dame, you're seeing it with Ohio State. The big physical, we've seen it with Michigan last year and winning the national championship. Your speed is only one part of it.
Yep.
If you can match them with somewhat decent speed and then just pound them,
Yep.
grind them
And
into
that's the
dust
thing,
with
Ohio State's
strength.
run game is opened up now. It's been
Yeah.
a little on hiatus for a couple of weeks, but since that Tennessee game, they've only played 2 since, but, like, they have ratcheted it up. They're getting, like, 250, 300 yards on the ground. So now you pair that with an air raid offense, that's why they're just mollywopping teams. Mollywopping. And I literally think they're gonna bring the whooping stick and the pain and beat Texas to sleep, and it doesn't matter who wins the Penn State Notre Dame game. I mean, it's
I think,
over.
yeah, I mean, if Texas somehow still wins that game, I still think I think Texas and Ohio State are both better than Notre Dame and Penn State.
Yeah.
I think they're just playing for runner up, honestly.
Yeah,
But I mean, weird things have happened, and
for sure. I could be
I mean,
completely
Penn
wrong.
State's had a little bit of an easy. I mean, if you had to guess, they had SMU
Mhm.
out of the power conference at home,
Yep,
crushed them. And then they had Boise State in the Mountain West
yep,
and crushed them. Shout out to Spencer Danielson. I love you, coach. You're
yep,
awesome. Keep doing your
absolutely.
thing. Tough, to see Boise, but Boise kind of had the same thing that Oregon had,
Yep.
where it's like Penn State was just bigger and physical. They could get off blocks. Genty could not like find any run lanes. As soon as he got the ball, he was, struggling to get,
Yeah,
find lanes to run the ball.
100%.
And you just seen the strength of Penn State take over. And so now they're off to play Notre Dame. Bummer what happened in New Orleans.
Oh,
Shout out to all the families of the victims of the terrorist attack that happened on New Year's Day. It's just a tough, brutal situation. Um, what happened down there? So obligatory thoughts and prayers to everybody down there.
100.
I think they did the smart thing, just pushing the game back, just letting everybody reset. And Carson Beck, with him being out in the Georgia game, didn't think that that would be that big of a deal. Well, it turns out it does because Notre Dame just beat them 23-10, and they're going to move on to the Cotton Bowl to play Penn State. Notre Dame, you've said many times, they're kind of the wild card and all.
Yes, they're the dark horse.
They are the dark horse, and so them beating Indiana and then now taking care of business against Georgia. Um, wh- We obviously don't think that they're good enough to beat Ohio State and Texas, but do you think that they could beat Penn State and go
Yes,
and maybe keep it closer than maybe Penn State would go
I
to the
think they
national
can.
championship? Yeah.
I think they gotta have a lot of momentum now, and I think how do you beat Georgia and not be like, "Oh, salivating to play Penn State?"
Yep.
Like, the confidence is up. They're proving to themselves, "Oh, no, we are for real."
Yeah.
So
And
take that
this is gonna be
mentality.
such a big step up from Penn State facing SMU and Boise State.
Absolutely.
This is a I like Notre Dame in the game,
Yep,
and I think we both do. And
yep.
I think we both like Ohio State versus Texas. So then your national championship, in our opinion, is going to be Ohio State
Notre
versus
Dame.
Notre Dame,
Yep.
which I think will be a good game.
Yeah, I think
feel
it'll be an interesting game.
Yep. Yeah, and they had that crazy game last year with the fourth down on the goal line,
Yep,
with them two teams, which was just high stakes drama last year.
absolutely.
So it'd be I think that's the type of game that really could be close.
Yeah,
Um,
2 big time brands
yes.
coming together.
Yep.
you know?
Yep,
I
and
think
and no SEC teams.
no, which is
Uh,
like the world of the Big Ten world at least is like,
right, right.
giving it
Yeah,
to you.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
But just don't count out Texas. You never know. You know.
Yeah, I've
Those,
counted them out.
but that.
They're done.
Uh,
Horns down, baby.
yeah, Steve Sarkisian. He just.
It's okay. I'm a Wolverine fan. You know what I mean? Like,
um. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But those are our picks coming up next week. I'm sure we'll have a podcast between now and then. But that's January 9th.
and to watch James Franklin blow it again, have another 12 season.
Do you like James Franklin or do you not like James Franklin?
Here's my thing with James Franklin.
I liked him at the beginning, and now I don't. He just kind of a little bit of annoying.
I
The shtick's gotten old for me, but I
yeah,
loved him at the beginning.
he's built a good brand at Penn State. He is a winner, but you can't win the big games. He's only won like 1 or 2 big games. And at some point, Penn State's going to have to ask themselves, is he the guy that's going to take us to the promised land? I mean, the dude's been there for 10, 12 years, and he's not got it done. He's played in a couple of Rose Bowls, maybe one, but, like, he's not winning.
Right.
You win 10 games a year, which is great, but is there but the problem is now, is there a coach that can come in and do that? You know what I mean?
For Penn
And
State, I don't think so. I think Franklin's the best you have
right.
right now.
It's like the Ryan
Uh,
Day situation. Who's gonna come and coach Ohio State?
Right.
If he gets fired, great.
But I would say Ohio State expects more from their teams than Penn State. I mean, they expect national championships. Penn State and we've had many discussions on this. We really want. I mean, Penn State.
I love Penn State.
We both love Penn State. We want them to take the next step, but it's like, yeah, I just don't see it. I don't see after the last 2 games that they played. Yes, they played very well, dominated their opponents, but they're not Notre Dame.
Right.
And I feel like Notre Dame's a lot more well-rounded.
Yeah.
They can match them physically.
Yeah.
And enough talent. I think Penn State might have a few more weapons, but I think Notre Dame's just fundamentally better
Yeah.
overall team, but we'll see. We'll see. I mean, I feel very confident about our picks, both of our picks.
Yeah.
I think that America would be pleased with an Ohio State Notre Dame national championship.
Yep.
So, moving on.
Moving on, baby.
Do you want to do pigskin prognosis?
Let's do it, baby.
All right.
And what's that again?
It's where we take the 5. This is the last pigskin prognosis of the year. It's where we take the 5 best games of the weekend of the NFL season. I make the picks against the spread. So far, I'm 29-21. I started off really hot, and then I just started like going 1-4, 1-4, 2-3, 2-3. So I'm 29-21. A lot of games with heavy point spreads, which can make it sometimes more difficult, especially when you're dealing with the NFL. But this will be the last one. And then we'll wrap it up. And then when we go forward with more of our NFL talk, we'll just kind of break down more of the games singularly, and talk about who we like, just because it'll go down to wild card weekend and the divisional round. And so we'll whittle it down, and just kind of talk about those games individually once we get to playoff time, which is
Right around the corner,
week
baby.
from tomorrow.
Let's
week from
go.
Saturday.
Yep. Let's
So-
freaking go, dude.
There's your games if you want to read them to me. Again, we started this when we started this. We both kind of picked them. Hayden doesn't know and understand the point spread. I've tried to explain it to him many
Why do we got to keep bringing it up, Jake? Like, let's just let it go. Okay.
No,
Let's just let it go.
All right, so here we go. Pigskin prognosis, last one of the 2024 NFL season. Hayden, what do you got?
Here we go. So we got Saturday's game kicking off. We have the Bengals at the Steelers, and they're looking at the Bengals -1.5.
Okay. I'm going to take Bengals here. I think they win. I think they dominate. I think Joe Burrow takes care of business. I still don't think they make it into the playoffs because I think the Dolphins or the Broncos will win.
Which is unfortunate.
It's very unfortunate. Very unfortunate. I think America wants to see Mr. Burrow in the playoffs, me included. So I think they finish strong. I mean, this isn't going to change their draft position all that much.
Yep.
So finishing with a winning season at 9-8, I think Burrow wants to come out here and dominate. I got the Bengals. We're going to talk about MVP conversation too. I want to get into that a little bit later.
Yeah.
With Burrow and Allen, and
Yep.
Lamar, and Saquon, and all that. So we're gonna have our MVP picks at the end of the show. But give me the Bengals. I think they take care of business, even with that point and a half.
Okay. Nice pick. Nice pick.
You got to do the
That's it. Gotta
Lee Corso.
Gotta do the Lee Corso, man. Okay, so we're gonna move on to Sunday. We got, man, a great lineup of games. Not this one. It's the Panthers at the Falcons, and they have the Panthers at +1.5. I can't tell if it says 1 or 7.
Probably 7.
Okay, 7.5. It's the
Yeah, they're not gonna 1.5.
Okay.
Panthers.
It's your handwriting. It's his handwriting. He hasn't handwriting. You know, he's still working on it.
I write down whatever the FanDuel games are, and then I hand it to Hayden. And
Yeah, he said, here.
I'm gonna take the Panthers to cover here.
Ooh.
I think they cover. I think the Falcons win
They're kind of on an upswing a little bit.
a little bit.
Did they just get obliterated, though?
Yeah, they need the Bucks to lose, so they're still in it. So they're still gonna play hard.
Yeah.
7.5. Panthers have been playing well. Give me Bryce Young. I think they want to finish strong. They might be fighting for that number 1 pick in the NFL draft. I'm not sure exactly where they shake out in that, but I think the Panthers keep it close. So I'm going to take the Panthers and the points there.
Not so fast, my friend. No, that's probably a fair.
Pretty sure that's patented.
Yeah, that's true. I can't use that one. That's on me. That'll be interesting. What do you think about Michael Penix?
Um, it's tough because I think he's made some really good throws. I think he's it's too small of a sample size for me. It's too small of a sample size. Raheem Morris just totally botched that game.
Yeah.
At the end of Sunday night.
Yep.
With 3 timeouts. And again, once again, as I've literally screamed into this microphone.
Here we go.
How do head coaches, with all the staff that you have, or quarterbacks for that matter, because they have the right to take a timeout as well.
Yep.
How do you not have somebody manage the clock better than this? I mean, a second grader could see that you need to burn a timeout. I mean, and they didn't. And it's like, why? Vikings, same thing at the end of the Packer game.
Yep.
At the end of the first half. What are you doing trying to come up and run a play with 30 seconds and you have 2 timeouts? I don't understand it.
Right.
Don't have enough time to run a play, and then you're calling back-to-back timeouts. You literally call one with a minute. Tom Brady said this, and I think it's perfect. If you have a 2-minute drive, you call one around the 1-minute mark, you call one around the 30-second mark to give yourself 2 plays, and you call one to save for the kicker.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
That's it. Now, if you'd have 2 timeouts, you would obviously, probably take it down to that 30-second mark and then burn it and then save the one for the kicker.
Yep.
If you don't have any time, or if you only have 1 timeouts, then you just got to run it until you can get down there and save it for the kicker.
Right.
I don't understand time management from these people, and it just boggles my mind that they run it like this. And I mean, it's a Matt Eberflus. I mean, he Matt Eberflused. He pulled a Matt Eberflus on Sunday night, and it was just it's so mind-numbing. I feel bad for the Falcons that they have to deal with that.
Yeah.
And
It is
deal with
unfortunate.
Kirk's contract and everything. I feel for the Falcons. They have dug themselves in a hole. I don't think Michael Penix is talented enough to just get them out of that. And I think you could see Michael Penix become one of those Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield types where they need more around them and they can't afford to get anything around them, and so he struggles.
Yeah.
But I think he's got talent. I think he's got talent. He doesn't look overwhelmed. He doesn't look lost. He was a veteran in college. I like Michael Penix.
Yeah.
I don't know if I love him, but I like him.
Yeah. It's good. That's an interesting. I mean, I appreciate that. I think that's a whole podcast of clock management.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a whole discussion.
I see it every week. That's what bothers me.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like somebody had like a mental breakdown and there was a loss in communication between the head coach and the quarterback or something like that. But if I'm a quarterback and
You're looking at the clock.
here's the thing.
And
If
the scenario
have enough confidence in your quarterback And your quarterback has to have enough confidence in himself
Right.
to where if he's at 30 seconds and the clock's running and they're telling him in the headset, run another play. No, screw you. I'm
Right.
calling timeout. This
Right.
is dumb.
How
Like,
many
do you not
times
know how to
are they
do math?
working these
By
reps?
the time we get up there and run a play, another 15 seconds will have run off, and
Right.
then we have one more play, and that's it. Maybe two.
Right.
Maybe two. If I
Right.
call timeout, we can at least reset, get the play we want, get a big chunk of yardage that we need, and then we can save it for the kicker, or we can run up and clock it, depending on how far the play is. Maybe he gets out of bounds and you get another play. But
Right.
to just run it down like that is just so bad. It's
Yeah.
so bad.
How many times do you think they rehearse these things? That they have them in playbooks. They have them like, "Hey, this is what happened." Like they talk scenarios.
Like,
God,
I'm
they have
okay.
to do
I'm
this.
okay if he's at like 50 seconds
Right.
running another play.
Right.
But what
30?
happened? What happened to clocking the ball? Like, when I was a kid, if you had 40 seconds and you completed a pass for 20 yards and you need another, 20 yards to, what happened to just coming up and spiking the ball?
Right.
Yes, you lose the down, but you don't have enough downs to work with anyway.
Right. For
Like,
sure.
if the timeouts are that valuable, just run up and clock the ball. I don't understand why people are trying to reset
Yeah.
with 30 seconds and a ticking clock.
Right.
You seen it with Matt Eberflus at the
Mhm.
Thanksgiving game. You've
Mhm.
seen it with the quarterback draw with Ohio State and Oregon.
Yep.
You've seen it now with Atlanta and Washington. These
Yep.
games are being cost because people don't know how to literally tell time.
Yeah. It's pretty wild.
Anyway, I'm off my soapbox. Next game.
Next game. Let's speed up here so we can get to like where we want to land.
Which I think you know.
Yeah, which the world knows. So we have the Saints at the Bucks, and they're looking at the Bucks at minus 13 and a half.
I'm gonna
13
take
and a half.
13 and a half. I'm gonna take the Bucks to cover. I think their offense is cooking. Baker's cooking. I think the Saints don't even want to be there. They have very if at all, any NFL talent. Hardly. I mean, they got Kamara, and that's like it. I don't even know if he's gonna play. I wouldn't play him. I mean, he tears an ACL or something like that. You're pretty much screwed for next season.
Yeah, that's that.
So, I would say the Bucks cover here. I know 13 and a half is a lot. Bucks need this game, so they're gonna be coming out banging on all cylinders. Give me the Bucks to cover that big spread.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Vegas knows something. I mean, I think that's a big spread. I think
That is a big spread.
that's
2
a big
touchdowns
spread.
is a big spread in the NFL.
So yeah, you don't normally see numbers like that.
But Baker and the Bucks know they gotta win this game to get in
Right.
the playoffs. They
Well, if
lose
they're
this
hot.
game, they open the door up against the for the Falcons to sneak in and to kick them out.
Yep.
And so I think they're just gonna be foot on the gas, no mercy rule,
All
put up
gas,
40.
no break.
Yeah, all gas, no breaks, put up 40, 45 points. And the Saints, I just don't think they have enough talent to put up more than
So when the
14
Saints will
points.
be marching out.
Points. Yeah,
Got it. Got
yeah.
it. Fair
Give me
enough.
the Bucks.
Okay. Chiefs at Broncos, and Broncos minus 10 and a half.
Which is a lot when you think about the Chiefs, but again, it's another situation.
They ain't playing.
They're in the same boat. Chiefs have locked up the number 1 seed, which I think could hurt the Chiefs because now you're talking about 2 weeks off.
Yep.
You're talking about this week, you're talking about next week, and then you got to play. So you're literally going to be sitting at home not doing anything for 3 weeks. So I think they keep it close. I'm going to take the Chiefs to cover. Carson Wentz, I know it's Carson Wentz. I get it. But I don't fear the Denver Broncos of putting up a ton of points. So I think this could be, maybe a 5 to 10 point game for the Broncos. I think they get it done. I think they are the last playoff seed in the AFC. But give me the points in the Chiefs.
Okay. Okay. Here we go. Last game of the night.
Last pick of
Last
the
pick.
season too.
Sorry. Yeah, this is it right here. The one that we've all been waiting for, the granddaddy of them all. The Vikings in Detroit against Dan Campbell and the Lions. And they're going Vikings plus 2.5.
So Vikings are road dogs.
I think that's insane.
I've heard a lot of people say that when the line opened with Vikings Lions, I think it was like at a 1.5.
Yep.
For the Lions. If you just look at this game and I can't really say it, but if you just look at from a neutral standpoint, and I know I can't because I'm a huge Vikings fan. But if you just look at it from on paper, the Vikings should win this game. And I want to get into a little bit of a keys to victory here, but I'm going to go ahead and pick the game and then we can kind of delve in.
Mhm.
Um, I want to stay with my negativity because it's worked so well this year, but I'm going to take the Vikings plus 2.5. I'm going to stand by my team, knowing that they're in the playoffs regardless.
Yep.
But here's my ticket to the bank.
Ooh.
My ticket to the bank, the winner of this game represents the NFC in the Super Bowl.
Wow. Wouldn't that be awesome?
It would be. Eagles are really tough,
And
but
people are, like, really, like, hype on the Eagles.
I am too because
and
they're nobody talks about the Eagles defense.
No.
Nobody talks about the Eagles defense, and it is literally the best in the NFL. And you have Saquon, you have Hurts coming back, you have AJ Brown. They are loaded. They are a loaded roster, and their defense does not get enough credit. But points per game, they're number one. Yards per game, they're number one. They are a solid, rock solid defense that doesn't get enough credit. Minnesota gets a lot of credit just because they were so bad over the last couple years and they got better.
Yep.
And so the Eagles are gonna be tough, but the winner of this game will represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. That's my take it to the bank.
Okay. So give me a score.
38-28 Vikings.
I like that.
38-28 Vikings. If you just look at the defense for Detroit,
It's deplorable.
it is bad. Now, Anzalone might be back. That could change some things for Detroit. Don't get me wrong.
Not a lot. I'm sorry.
He's got a broken dude's gonna play with a broken forearm.
Right.
That's a man right there.
Right.
Sorry. But the other thing is that people are like, and I personally am okay with it. A lot of people were upset with Dan Campbell for playing his starters against the Niners.
Yep.
If that defense has people running free like George Kittle and Debo Samuel and those other wide receivers for San Francisco were getting open on Monday night,
Yep.
Sam Darnold's going to have 400 yards. And the Lions, they have a potent offense. They do.
Probably the best in the country.
Them and the Ravens are clearly head and shoulders.
Lions can
above
score every
them.
time they get the ball.
They can. And that's why I kind of want to get to the keys to the.
But you're also
Yeah.
facing a Flores defense that is, like, top of the line.
That's true.
You're actually gonna play a defense.
That's true. All right, I'm going to give you 3 keys for the Vikings and 3 keys for the Lions to
Okay.
win on Sunday night. Do you want Lions or Vikings first?
I want Vikes all day.
Okay, Vikes first. Their keys to victory. Number 1, don't turn the ball over.
Yep.
Anytime they win the turnover battle, Kevin O'Connell is like 38-1. Do not turn the ball over and give
can't.
that offense
Back
more
to the-
possessions.
Yeah.
You can't turn the ball over.
Mm.
You just let me tell you something. If Detroit doesn't turn the ball over and Minnesota turns it and Darnold has a couple picks,
Mhm.
they're gonna lose.
Yeah.
They're gonna lose. You can't keep up with that offense when you're handing them possessions.
100%.
You can't turn the ball over. I don't care if you turn it over once and then you take them away like 2 times. Okay, well then you're +1 in the take give.
Right.
I'll take that. But
Right.
if you go out and you're patty caking it and you get a couple drives together and they turn into not having points and you're turning it back over to Jared Goff, it's gonna be bad.
Yeah.
It's gonna be bad. And that offense will put up 45 to 50 points on you because they're that good. Second thing
I don't
for the
think so.
Vikings.
They're
Second
not
thing.
they're not gonna put up 45, 50 points against the Vikings.
Second thing.
Just so the world knows that's not accurate, but they are gonna score. He's wrong.
Second thing, keys to victory. We're doing 3 keys to victory. Vikings first.
Yep.
First one's turnovers. Second one, special teams. Do not mess up on your special teams.
It's huge.
You have to be perfect on your special teams if
Yep.
you're going to beat this Lions team.
Hmm.
That means no block punts, no shanked punts,
Yep.
no muffed punts, no block field goals, no missed field goals. Hit your kicks, get your coverage down. Don't let them return a punt for a touchdown or something stupid. Special teams has to play perfect. You can't let them get a foothold on you by allowing a dumb special teams turnover or
Yeah.
score,
Yeah.
and make sure you hit your kicks. That's number 2. Okay.
Okay.
Number 3, let Sam Darnold cut it loose early.
Yeah.
They cannot stay with you on the secondary side. Yes, they have they have Joseph, they have Branch, very good safeties.
Not enough.
But their linebacking core is so bad.
Yep.
Even if Anzalone comes back, it's so bad,
It's not enough.
they have to run zone,
Yep.
and they can't stay with you.
Right.
I expect TJ Hawkinson to have a big day.
You better love
You
him.
I do,
Man,
because number 1, he's an ex
he's like a cleanup guy.
number 1, he's an ex-Lion. Number 2, he got his leg blown up by, I think it was no, it was Kirby Joseph.
Mm.
Got his leg blown up by him by what some would call a cheap shot. I'm not gonna go as far as that, but it was not, that's what TJ literally ended his season, and
Mhm.
part of this season was because of that
Yep.
low, shot low on him. But TJ Hawkinson should burn this linebacking core. If you just look at it on paper, they
Right.
just their reaction watching the game Monday night, their reaction time and everything like that, it sh it y y you're TJ Hawkinson should burn that linebacking core, and then when you wanna literally double them, fine, bring the safety down and play man-to-man against Justin Jefferson, see how
Yep.
that works out for you.
Right.
Jordan Addison, let him carve up the zone and find the soft spots in the zone.
Yep.
This receiving core and these weapons are literally in my opinion, the best in the league, or one of the best in the league.
Yeah.
You have to use them. If Sam comes out and he's gun shy, he doesn't really know where to go with the ball, he's hanging out of the ball too long, he's wanting bigger plays, and he's getting sacked or something like that, you can't start out in a hole on this team.
No.
The last time they played, they got up to a 10-0 lead early. Then Detroit came out in the second quarter and went bang, 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 scored 3 touchdowns.
Yep.
That's what this offense can do for Detroit. And
Yep.
so if you're the Vikings, you gotta let Sam cut it loose early, and you gotta let him get comfortable and get a rhythm and start putting points up on this depleted secondary. Because if you don't, it might be too late, because that offense can cook, and you can't be giving that. I'm okay with long drives turning into 3 points,
Yep.
in my opinion.
Eat that clock, baby.
Eat the clock,
Keep it out of their
eat the
freaking
clock, but
hands.
let the defense rest.
Yeah.
Technically, on average, the Vikings, this is the oldest team in the NFL by average age.
Mhm.
So that defense, if they're on the field a lot, meaning you're doing 3 and outs or you're turning the ball over, the Lions can put up 40 points. I mean, they've put up 40 points 6 times this year, the Vikings only once. And
Mm.
so you gotta keep it out of that offensive hand, and you gotta put up points. That means you gotta let Darnold cut it loose. Don't try to outthink anything. Go after that secondary early and often and take care of business.
Yeah.
If you're the Vikings offense, 40 points on Sunday night shouldn't be like a dream, and, "Oh, if everything goes right, we might get 40 points."
Right.
No. This is you should expect to put up 40 on this defense.
Right.
Um, Again, they have very little pass rush. Sam does pretty well because he sometimes hangs onto the ball too long.
Yes.
So if the offensive line can play well, that might give Sam some extra time.
Yeah.
So those are my 3 keys for the Vikings.
I would say one more is avoid the 4th and shorts with the Lions.
Mhm.
Because when Dan obviously, it's a
Well, here's
it's a
something
guarantee.
here's something you gotta remember too. The Vikings are the number 1 team on 4th down in the NFL. So just keep that in mind. So if Dan ends up going on 4th down 3 or 4 times, chances are he's gonna turn that ball back over to us 2 or 3 times. Because right now we're at a 35% clip conversion rate on 4th down. We're the best 4th down defense in the NFL.
Yeah, well, you wanna make sure you do it because he'll ramp up, and
Yeah.
those fans
Yep.
will take off because they
Yep.
love the Dan Campbell
Yep.
grit. "Let's get it done. We're starting over another 4 downs. We're gonna go. We're
Yep.
gonna smash them."
Yep.
And so, like, I hate I if I'm Minnesota, I don't wanna play Dan Campbell in that offense. He's aggressive,
No.
but those 4th and shorts, like, they're momentum stealers too.
Yep.
They can suck the life out of a game.
Yep, they can because that leaves the defense on longer,
Yep.
and that's what this defense is not equipped to do. They do a great job taking the ball over. Like I said, they're a very good fourth down team. They usually like to get they're good at getting off the field usually.
Right.
If they get up early, they can allow a lot of passing yards and a lot of chunk plays
Yep.
in garbage time to let teams back into it. We've
Yeah.
seen it with Green Bay. We've seen it with other teams.
Yeah.
So Minnesota, there's a chance to do that.
Yeah.
Um, Lions, 3 keys. Number 1, lean on your home field advantage. Get the crowd. You got to call. If I was Dan Campbell, I would be calling on the crowd to be as rowdy as possible because if you can get Minnesota on false starts and stuff like that to back them up,
Yep.
to give that defense more yardage to play with to try to get stops on Minnesota's team, that's going to be huge. Minnesota, they've done a pretty good job of it as of late. But Darnold's had to make up a lot of false start and illegal formations and stuff like that.
Yep.
So I would say lean on your crowd. I mean, get as pumped up as possible and do everything you can
You need that
to
12
crowd
man.
into it. You do, and it'll be there. It'll be there, no doubt. The Vikings have to be good on their cadence, good on their rhythm, and try to take the crowd out of it early.
Yep.
So just don't get into a huge hole early and take the
Right.
crowd out of it.
Right.
That's number 1. Number 2. Long drives. Long drives. If it was me, now I don't think Dan Campbell's gonna do this, but if it was me, I would line up 7 offensive linemen and run that ball until they can stop it.
Yeah.
Blake Cashman, who's our leading tackler for the Vikings, was out when we first played. And you've seen Jahmyr Gibbs and a lot of that running game get going. It'll be an interesting clash. Again, the Vikings are fairly healthy.
Yep.
Blake Cashman is second in the NFC right now
Yep.
with tackles. And
Yep.
so the Vikings are technically 12-0 when Blake Cashman plays.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're 13-0. They're 1-2 without Blake Cashman. They're 13-0 with him.
Oh, well, that helps.
Yeah, so he's huge for us to have him in there with Ivan Pace in the linebacking core early. The big this is the point of the game that I think will decide who wins. Is can Detroit continue to run the ball effectively? Not saying they have to be perfect and run for 250 yards, but can you allow Goff to be in those second and third, second and fours, stuff like that? Because you've seen it with the Vikings and the Cardinals and some of the other games. If you can run the ball and really wear down that defense and extend drives and put all the pressure back on Darnold to come through, you have a good chance to win.
Yeah.
And so don't be afraid to run to literally do a 8-minute drive, because if Darnold goes out there and they have a 3 and out and that defense needs to go right back out of the field, you're going to be able to literally do anything you want.
Right.
Detroit, without a doubt, has the best offensive line in football, without a doubt.
Mm-hmm.
And so use that to your advantage. Keep that defense out on the field for very long periods of time, and you're gonna put up points and make it a short game.
Yeah.
Make it a short game. Don't let your defense and Sam Darnold pick you apart all day. Make it a short game where Sam Darnold and Justin Jefferson and Aaron Jones, they're only getting 9 possessions in this game instead of 11 or 12.
Yeah.
That's what you want to do.
Yeah.
If you're the Lions. I would not be afraid to run the ball 35, 40 times. Not saying, and then, run the play action if you have to get big chunks if you want. But keep that defense of the Vikings on the field as long as possible and wear them down because because they're older, it's an older team. They don't have the stamina to do that. You've seen that with Green Bay last week. Green Bay got back in that game because the Vikings defense was just tired.
Yeah.
They were tired. They weren't even really out of position.
Yeah.
They were just tired.
Yeah.
And they couldn't get a pass rush. So that's the second thing. Third thing would be get stops on third down. Get that defense off the field on third down.
Yeah.
In my opinion, there's 3 things that matter in football: turnovers, red zone, third down. Those are that's
Right.
literally all that matters.
Right.
Get off the field at least a couple times.
Yeah.
If they're going up and down the field, you're going to have to match them tit for tat, and I think the Vikings defense is good enough to stop Jared Goff more than their defense is good enough to stop Sam Darnold.
Uh-huh.
That's why I have the Vikings winning 38-28. But those are my 3 keys for each team of what they gotta do to win.
I would add one more for the Lions, is if the Vikings jump out early and they get a 10, 13-point lead, don't bow out.
No.
If you watch the
Well,
Vikings, they
doesn't matter if it's a 21-point lead.
right, don't bow out because the Vikings have been infamous for allowing teams back in.
Yep.
So don't get shook.
And that's
'Cause
usually
the reality is it could very well happen.
because either the defense is tired,
Yep.
um, or Flores tries to go to more of a safe coverage, and they just start working their way down the field.
Yep.
And then if Darnold doesn't come back and score points, defense got to go right back out there, and
Yep.
then you kind of can just have your will with them.
Right.
The line of scrimmage with the Vikings defense front seven and the Detroit Lions offensive line is where the game is going to be won and lost, I believe.
Yeah.
If Detroit can run the ball and be effective, I think they're going to win. If the Vikings can stop the run and get to Jared Goff or at least get him off his spot.
Well, the run has been stopped too. Detroit's run game actually over the last 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, it has been stopped.
Well, I mean, Gibbs had a big run. You can't just allow big runs.
Right.
That's
That's
the thing.
big runs. You got
Because they were up
it.
10-0 in that first game,
Yeah.
and then Gibbs broke it.
Right.
And he broke like a 40-yarder or something like that. It's like you can't allow those big runs, but the game is going to be won on the defensive front seven of the Vikings and the Detroit Lions offensive line. That's where the game's going to be won and lost. I'm telling you that right now. Because if they can, when Goff got those 3 touchdowns in the second quarter, just back, and
Yeah.
the Vikings all of a sudden were in a hole.
Yeah.
It's because Goff had all day,
Right.
and so that's where the game's going to be won and lost, in my opinion. The only thing that would be different is if one of the teams turns the ball over more.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's my in-depth analysis.
There we go.
I'm picking the Vikings. I'm sticking by my team. It's tough because whoever loses this game after this intense, tough game, 6, 7, maybe 6 days later, you have to literally go play more than likely Baker Mayfield on the road. And so
Yeah.
this game is so important, and we'll see. We'll see how I'm interested to see also how fresh the Lions are for Sunday. Because again, Vikings had about 30 extra hours of rest time and recovery time compared to the Lions. That's why I was shocked, but I still understood why Dan Campbell played his starters. Would you have played your starters on Monday night?
No.
I hear a lot of people saying that.
I understand that is the DNA that Dan is implementing and there's buy-in, obviously. But no, it didn't matter.
Yeah.
In my mind. It just didn't matter. You're in and
And San
get
Francisco
ready
is
for
a
like
tough physical team.
tough physical team, bro. And it was a good game.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was actually a really good game.
I mean, Brock Purdy doesn't throw those 2 picks.
Totally
Might have lost.
Yeah.
But again, that goes back to turnover and line of scrimmage control.
Yep.
That's what's going to determine it.
Right. And Brock Purdy, I mean, he was kind of carving them up, man. I mean, it's not like their offense is what it was over the past couple of years. It's bad in my mind. And what they were able to do, I mean, if I'm a Detroit fan, I'm watching that game and I'm like, oh no, like we're going to play a real offense.
You're a player. I think if you're a player, you understand the mindset, and there's still buy-in because you're 14-2.
Right.
But there's a part of me that would be like, really, dude?
Yeah.
Really? We gotta, because that's our mindset and mentality. It's like, dude, I'm playing freaking hurt right now.
Right.
To win for no reason. And I get it. Dan Campbell was on an 0-16 team.
Yep.
Every win matters to him.
Yep.
I get it.
Yep.
So I'm okay. I'm okay with it. But on the same token,
I thought it
we'll
was
see.
foolish.
I mean, if they come out and look fresh and look great, maybe that's the motivation they needed to roll the Vikings and keep the 1 seed. I feel like this season with the Lions and Vikings, I feel like right now, with the injuries and where they stand right now and just the overall talent, I feel like the Vikings are the better all-around team.
Yeah.
But I feel like the Lions have something almost like a team of destiny type.
Yeah.
That might not be able to be denied. And that's what's going to make for an amazing game on Sunday night. Who do you like winning that game?
I mean, I like the Vikings.
Give me a score.
I think 10 points might be a little much. The thing is this, and kind of what you alluded to, you can't turn the ball over. Man, if Sam Darnold and the crew can just kind of ratchet it up and capitalize on every drive, eliminate the 3 and outs and those types of things, um, I could see him winning by 11, 12. But if they can't, and you 1 or 2 mistakes can lose you a game
Yeah.
because Jared Goff and that squad literally can score every time they have the ball.
Yeah.
And
Because their offensive line is so good,
yeah,
can you limit it and get if Goff gets 10 possessions
yep,
and you get a turnover on one of them, that's 9 possessions.
yep,
Can you get off the field another 3 or 4 times?
yep,
And, I think Campbell's gonna risk it and go for it. I mean, this is who they are,
yeah.
right? This
Go
is who
for the
they are.
glory, baby.
But, again, might take it to the bank. Whoever wins this game is going to the Super Bowl for the NFC, and I think who do you think this is more important for? I should ask you.
You know, it's so hard because we're in Michigan,
Yeah.
and I think honestly a lot of just the football culture and world is kind of pulling for a Detroit because everyone's fallen in love with Dan Campbell. They're the team of destiny. Um, but for me,
I love their t I honestly, I love their team.
yeah,
The way Dan Campbell has come in and done that, and just his attitude and mindset, and screw what the analysts
he's hard to hate.
and the talking heads have to say. I'm gonna run my team the way I wanna run my team. I'm not gonna
Yep,
be influenced by anybody else other than what I think,
yep,
and that attitude and mindset has spread to his team. I freaking love it, and if the Vikings don't go to the Super Bowl, even though they're an in-division rival, I really hope the Lions go to the Super Bowl, and I
yep,
think everything is lining up for a Chiefs-Lions Super Bowl. I think that's what the NFL wants, because then you have your darling in the
yep,
Lions and you have your villain in the
yep,
Chiefs.
yep.
But we'll see. We'll see. Who do you think it's more important though, too? Sorry for interrupting. I'm so keyed up for this game. It's all I've been thinking about for 4 days.
I think there's a split. My thoughts on who's it's more important for is the Vikings.
Yeah.
Um, Number 1, you need to win this game. I mean, you've the odds are stacked in your favor in
Yep.
my mind.
Yep.
And that fan base, man, has been through it just like Detroit. But for me,
I gotta I
Vikings. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just to me, it's just the Vikings.
I think I see more of a path to get to the Super Bowl with the Lions as the 5 seed than the Vikings as the 5 seed. Because I think the Lions are built to withstand and potentially beat Baker and then go on the road against probably Philly and win those games. I don't see the Vikings getting past the divisional round if they have to go on the road. I really don't. I think US Bank Stadium
Why?
because US Bank Stadium's such an advantage to them, and we have always struggled at Lincoln Financial, always. NFC Championship game, anytime we
Coming
play
off
in
a Lions
Lincoln, it's
win,
just hard.
but coming off a big time Lions win like that,
Yeah, and you're automatic. I mean, this is a playoff game because the winner goes immediately to the divisional round
right?
and gets to host it. And I think US Bank, we play faster, we play more physical when we're at the bank. Um, from what I've heard, supposed to be a lot of a lot of Vikings fans going to this game. We'll see. It's like $500 just to get in. It's like standing room only is like $500. It's insane. It's insane.
I think this will
I
be
don't
one
think
of the
the
most. You alluded to it earlier. This will be one of the most viewed games.
Yeah. This is essentially. I mean, I don't know how it can really get any bigger.
Yeah,
I had one guy tell me the other day. He said it's the regular season Super Bowl.
right.
I mean, I don't know how it can get any bigger. I mean, yes, there's been division games that
Yeah,
have been decided on the last week of the year.
yeah,
Um, but this is for the number 1 seed. I mean, literally the chance to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl, both their percentages go up like past 25% if they win this game.
right.
Um, I I really wanna believe the Vikings. I'm taking the Vikings. I'm probably gonna regret it. I should stay negative. Um, if they win this game, I'm gonna start to I'm fully in. They win this game, I am 100% in. I'm gonna start talking trash. I'm gonna be 100% in if they win this game. I it's time for the nation to see that the Vikings are actually a good football team and not just a good story.
Yeah.
And
It's so hard
I'll
because
see
the
how
same narrative as Detroit. It's the
yeah, but
same
they've
narrative.
been but the media's been gassing up Detroit quite a bit all season. What the Vikings did to the Packers and what they did to the Seahawks in back-to-back weeks on the road against the Seahawks and then in prime time with Tom Brady and the number 1 crew. I mean, that was literally the other than there was only one game really on that the entire nation saw last Sunday, and it was the Vikings. And now, how do you handle that now that everybody is gassing you up in the media and you have a chance to literally stamp yourself as the number 1 seed? I I could see this game really going either way. I'm choosing to believe in the Vikings. It's probably my downfall. It's probably what I shouldn't be doing, but
I don't know why. I mean, Flores's defense is for real. And
it is, but there's holes. There's gaps. It
yeah,
can't
there's
be.
holes, but have you seen the Lions secondary?
And
What we're talking about,
I know, but
bigger holes.
Kevin O'Connell is 1-4 against Dan Campbell. So if there's a time to beat him, it's now.
It's right here, right now.
And
Shut every Detroit fan up. Go to
but you
Ford
could
Field,
you could have
step
a
on their throat.
they could play in 2 weeks. That's the thing is that this game is super important, but the 5 seed could win, the 6 seed could win, or the 6 or 7 seed could win.
Yep.
Or I'm sorry. Take a step back. The Vikings could lose on Sunday,
Right.
go play Baker Mayfield and win, and then the 2 and the 3 seed win. And so then the 2 and the 3 will play each other, and the Vikings would play the Lions again for this, which I don't wanna see happen. Like, if the
No.
Vikings win on Sunday and they get the number 1 seed, I do not wanna see another NFC North team
Right.
coming into the US Bank. I
Absolutely
just
not.
don't. Um, but I think America has come to the realization that there are 2 teams in the NFC, and it's the Vikings and the Lions,
Yeah.
and the Eagles are a very close, you know, 1A.
Mhm.
Um, and we'll see.
Even though you said Eagles are the best team.
I just
Now you just
they're
dropped
good
it
enough to
down
go
to
to the
tier.
Super Bowl and win. The Eagles are good enough to go to the Super Bowl and win. They have enough talent. They have enough on their roster. They do. They do. And I think, unfortunately, the Lions are in a position where, with those injuries, I don't think they can patch it together enough against really, really good teams coming in the playoffs to get to the Super Bowl and win. I really don't.
What do you think
Can
about
they? Of course. Would I be shocked if they did? I'm very rarely shocked in the NFL anymore, but
I would be shocked. Dude, that defense is a complete liability. It's
yeah,
really,
but the
really
offense
bad.
is I mean, the offense is it would be shocking because usually a defense that's that bad going into the playoffs
You gotta
does
play
not
defense.
last.
Right. You gotta be able to play defense.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter how potent that offense is. If you can play defense and keep them off the field or, and get them off the field or keep them on the field and slow the game down and all of that, bro, like and the thing is with Minnesota is they can match you. You're playing a team that can score 40 points in a game,
They can.
with in my mind, the
Mhm.
best receivers.
Like I said, I mean, and that's why I went with my prediction.
You're literally playing with a team that can go toe for it's like the Bills.
Yeah. But
know?
we haven't seen the Sam Darnold blue screen of death yet. And I really hope I don't see it. I don't see with Kevin O'Connell he that happening. But Kevin O'Connell, if you want to be coach of the year, if you want to take this team to the bowl, you have to beat Dan Campbell. You're 1-4 against him, bro. You have to beat him. And now's the time.
Yeah.
Now's the time. Because I would not want to go on the road and play Baker Mayfield the way the Bucks are.
Watch out for the freaking Bucks. The
I know
Bucks
they're only
go
I know they're only gonna have like 9 or 10 wins, but I would not wanna play Mike Evans and Baker Mayfield in
No.
Tampa with that gun going off. That's to me, that's a coin flip game.
Oh, man.
Either team,
Right. They're fun to watch.
they are.
Baker's throwing 500 yards a game, and, I mean, it is just like you said,
But
he's cooking.
I think the Vikings defense has enough to get the ball into Darnold's hands enough to get enough points to win. And I think the defense A lot will be told in the first half.
Right.
If the Vikings go into the first half and they have 10 points, I don't even care if the Lions have none. It's over.
Think so?
Absolutely. You need to literally stick it to this team from the gun to the buzzer and just eh, eh, eh,
Keep your foot on the gas.
you have to. You none of these slow starts and none of these weak finishes.
Yeah.
You can't afford to do it. If you do, I know Kevin O'Connell was 8-1 in one-score games, but you do not want to mess around with this Detroit Lions team in a one-score game. You just don't. You just don't.
Yeah.
And um, you know, we need to put up 35 to 40 points. And can the defense limit them to 20 to 25? I think they can.
Yeah.
I don't think they probably will. Like that's why I kind of gave 28,
Right.
might be 30,
Right.
but so much will depend on turnovers and
Yep.
like we talked about. So
Yeah. I'm stoked.
I think I got it all out.
It's good. I think it's good. You feel better? You feel like you threw it out there?
Uh yeah. I'm so nervous for this game. I don't even know why I'm nervous.
Because your
Both
team
teams
is
are
probably the biggest game ever as a fan.
it's the biggest regular season game
Yeah.
probably ever.
Yeah.
In my opinion. In my lifetime.
Yeah.
I can't remember a regular season game that was this big. I mean, usually when you're playing for a division crown, it's usually like the 4 seed and the 5 seed.
Mm.
You know, who's gonna have the home field,
Mhm.
who's gonna win the division and have that one home playoff game. We're talking about the number 1 seed and a bye.
Mhm.
That's huge. Okay. All right. I shouldn't have taken the Vikings. I'm gonna change my pick.
No. Vikings, baby.
I have to stay negative. You gotta stay negative.
Vikings. He said he's gonna stay. You gotta stay Vikings.
I'm gonna
Can't
be
change it.
so jacked up for that game. Um, you wanna do a little bit of cigar review here?
4.5.
4.5.
4.5
I
bands.
really enjoyed this.
Really?
Yeah, this Gurkha Rogue, I really enjoyed.
Interesting.
It's a big cigar.
Yep.
It's very smooth, I thought.
Interesting.
It's not like
And you're not a big
overpower
cigar guy. You're more of like, give me a base,
Yeah, yeah.
nothing too big.
I'd give when you handed this to me, you was like, "I didn't really like the cigar. Here you go." I was like, "Oh, I'll try it." I give this 4 out of 5.
Wow.
I give this 4 out of 5. I was a little afraid on just the structure of it too, like it was
Yeah.
gonna kind of fall apart,
Yeah.
and it's held up well. I thought. I mean, this is what like $7, $8, something like that.
Yeah. 7 to 10. Yeah. Something like
Okay.
that. Yeah. Yeah.
And I'd give it 4 out of 5. I like
Wow.
it. I
Wow.
like it.
It's huge.
No, I thought I was gonna give it like 2.
Man, I thought it was maybe in our first negative. So shout out to Gurkha, man. You guys really impressed Jake. So good for you.
Well, I think you've smoked so many Gurkhas that
That's probably true. Yeah. I mean, kind of build yeah.
anyway, we're gonna wrap this up. But first, MVP. Who you got? Last week of the season, pick your MVP.
Josh Allen.
I'm gonna go Josh Allen as well.
I think Lamar Jackson's unbelievable. I think Joe Burrow is unbelievable. I think Joe Burrow needed about 2 more wins
That's
to
what I said
really
last
be
week.
concerned,
Yep.
to really be considered, because it's not fair to a Josh Allen or Lamar who are winning and putting up those types of numbers, and it's tough because you look at Burrow and like what does his cast look like, all those things. That O-line isn't very good. He's running for dear life and he's still making plays, and
Mm-hmm.
but it's like, dude, Josh Allen, he's throwing for 400 yards a game, rushing for 60 yards. I mean, he is
Well, the other thing is we start talking about the
Same with Lamar.
MVP. We start talking about the MVP in like October,
right.
and it's like, and now it's been Josh Allen since like October, and now Lamar's just dominated, and so everybody's kind of switching to Lamar. The problem with the MVP is what it's turned into is
Right.
so much stats based,
For sure.
and I think you have a legitimate argument for Saquon to be in the MVP race. I mean, dude, you beat Eric Dickerson, and I don't think they're going to play him.
Nope, they're not. They decided he's gonna sit.
They said he's going to
Yeah.
sit. That's kind of a bummer to me, but anyway, um, that's kind of sad in my
It's
opinion.
sad, but you gotta think about the team.
I know. You got to think about it, but
It kind of sucks though. If I'm Saquon, like, I might have a humble, because he's a pretty humble guy.
I mean,
so-
give me a half.
right. Let me
Probably
try.
like, hey, we're gonna start you for the first half. We're gonna give you 10 carries. If you get hurt, I'll literally murder you on the field.
Right, it's over. Your life is
But
over.
I'm gonna give you 10 carries in one half. Do it with do it with what you will.
Yep.
And but if he gets hurt,
Right.
everybody's getting fired.
Oh, it's over.
It's over. Everybody's getting fired. Back to the MVP conversation. I it- to me, yes, there's stats involved, but I look at it from you have to be a successful team and who's the most critical to their team to get those wins.
Right, exactly. That's
And
how you need to look at it.
I think it's more critical for Joe Burrow, but I think Josh Allen has enough stats to overcome that. Like they're
Right.
close. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like they're close enough. So
Yep.
it's yes, it's stats, but it's also how valuable are you to your team? Just the overall value. Like if you get hurt, how many wins are you like? What's the win differential if you get hurt?
Right.
That's kind of how I look
Yeah,
at it.
for sure.
Um, and then just overall wins as like how successful your team was. Those are
Right.
the three things that I kind of look at. And I think Josh Allen, although he doesn't have the stats as Lamar, you had Derrick Henry and you had like without Lamar Jackson, I still think the Ravens win 10 games this year.
Oh, for sure.
Without Josh Allen,
Yeah,
I don't think the Bills are even in the playoffs.
absolutely.
So
Agree.
and Joe Burrow took a worse team and is almost making the playoffs. So
Right.
I mean, I would put Josh Allen 1 and Joe Burrow 2. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
A lot of people will hate on me for that just because Lamar is putting up ridiculous numbers.
Yep.
Um,
But
but
when you think
I
about that,
when I look at the Ravens,
that he needs Joe Burrow.
well, exactly.
They need him.
Exactly. And the Ravens need Lamar. So I'm not doubting that, but I feel like the Bills need Josh Allen more than the Ravens need Lamar.
Yeah.
And the Bengals need Joe Burrow more than more than the Ravens need Lamar.
Yep.
Um, not to say that they wouldn't be a totally different team without Lamar.
Yeah.
And I think there's a little MVP fatigue with him winning it again.
Yep.
I think that has to factor into it.
Yep.
Uh,
Absolutely.
so I think we both vote for Josh Allen. I would put
Yep.
Joe Burrow at tight number 2. But all right,
He'd need 2 more wins.
if he had 2 more wins,
It just looked
I
a
think
little
he'd be-
better.
Yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah. I mean, if they beat the Steelers and had 11 wins and were hosting a playoff game, you're probably looking at Joe Burrow as your MVP. Okay,
It's that.
that's that.
And that's the way
Do you have a ticket to the bank? I gave my ticket to the bank. Give your ticket to the
my
bank.
ticket to
Think
the
of
bank is
something-
Ohio State wins the whole natty.
That's your
They win
ticket
the
to the
national
bank.
championship.
We got a
Yeah.
couple weeks to get those down. We'll write them down. We'll keep track of them.
I could also say Vikings make it to the Super Bowl.
We don't talk about that.
Yeah. I've said it since the beginning of the year.
You have been
So-
all aboard Skull Nation ever since they went
have.
5-0. They went
have.
5-0 and they beat the Jets, and you're like, it's
It's over.
happening.
It's done with, dude.
I
over.
appreciate your belief. I'm going to be right here for you for your verse Vikings collapse, however that may happen. And we'll see what.
We'll drink some more of this Charles Woodson bourbon. Just oh Lord Jesus.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for us. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Make sure you guys go out and enjoy some sports, and make sure you get into your humidor today, go light up, and watch some sports.
Watch some sports.